Hello and welcome to Caribbean Content Creators. You're probably wondering if this podcast has faded, if it's disappeared. And the answer to that question is no, it hasn't faded, but life has gotten in the way, and I'm not able to produce these episodes and meet with other content creators as I would like to. I think part of the problem is that I haven't, I would do these podcasts as video podcasts as well, which I post on YouTube. Somehow, in terms of setting up for those episodes, it makes it a little bit more difficult than if I was just recording a solo episode like this. So I haven't been able, I think that has deterred me a lot from producing episodes. And the lesson I want to take away from it, and that I want you to take away from it as well, is that this idea to keep your production as simple as possible. Today I do a lot of production on my phone, the video editing on my phone. I use CapCut, and yeah, I just have simplified my life so much, even as simple as it might sound and as lazy as it might sound, where I no longer edit or transfer files onto the computer, edit them there. Forgive me if this episode is a little bit more freestyling than usual. I may not be editing out the pauses and making it as crisp as possible, because I think I just want to be able to let it all out. So you're probably in for a long ride. I will try to keep this episode into like the 25 to 30 minute mark. Hopefully I hit that mark. And yeah, just touch base with you all, and meanwhile talk about something a little bit useful. Recently, a classmate of mine from way back in 2007, she reached out and she asked if I would be willing to speak at an event for young entrepreneurs, ages between like 16 to 35 years old. And initially, I said no, because crowds scare me. And which is a little bit strange for people, because they think, well, yeah, you're into vlogging, you look comfortable on camera, speaking to people, engaging them in family vlogs. So you must be an extrovert. Maybe I am, but regardless, crowds have a way of terrifying me. Anyway, today is Thursday. I'm not even sure what day is, but tomorrow is the event. And it's at a beautiful hotel that we have here in Trinidad, the Hilton Hotel, which is over the capital, Port of Spain. So yeah, I'll be there, and one of the idea is about like bridging the gap between technology and being an entrepreneur. And I realized while I was preparing for this panel discussion, which will be about an hour long, I realized that to some extent, as a content creator, as a writer in the past, I realized that maybe I am an entrepreneur to some extent. I guess we live in the age where everyone is a content creator, whether you're making a dollar off of it or not. And you're an entrepreneur in some sense. You might be selling not physical products, but actual skills. So I started thinking about, how much I admire people who are in business trying to make something of their life. Maybe it's a side hustle. And what would I speak to young entrepreneurs about? And I realized it ties all the way back to mindset when it comes to bridging the gap between being an entrepreneur and using technology. So I just, maybe this is a bit of a rehearsal for me, but today I want to talk about some of the questions that I will have to answer at this panel, and maybe the thoughts that are running through my head, and I hope it is useful to you in some sense. So one of the questions that came up is, how can technology enable entrepreneurs to identify and capitalize on new opportunities in today's rapidly changing business landscape? And before I get to the technology, I want to highlight that when you are an entrepreneur, it is hard. It's a lonely experience where you're probably pursuing some creative passion, something that you believe in, and your family may not necessarily believe in it, or your friends the way you do. It could be a food business. Maybe you are a hairdresser. Maybe you are a repairman. Maybe you teach students at the college or the secondary school level. So it's a hard, lonely journey. But first of all, and maybe this ties back into my experience as a writer, I realized that it is insufficient for the entrepreneur to think about themselves as just being an entrepreneur. I think there's a part that where you have to accept that I am a writer. I live in an age where I am a writer and I am also a content creator, regardless of the type of the business you're building. And it's so important that we, one, not get complacent. We must always be seeking to be better. What can I do to be better, to take this business to the next level? And also, it's so important to be thinking about yourself or your business as a software company, because it will give you a constant eye in terms of what tools can I be using to make my life easier or my customer's life a lot easier than it is. So the typical entrepreneur, regardless of the business that you're involved in, you're going to have a couple of problems, particularly if you're based in the Caribbean here. Telling compelling stories, that's one of your big problems. Connecting with paying customers and collecting payments. That's a crucial one, collecting payments. And finding additional ways to generate income. So as I go along in this podcast, I really want to be chatting about the tools that I use to gather my thoughts, to deal with payments, to deal with finding additional ways to generate income, because I think somewhere in here you will find assets that could benefit you. So the great news is that we are surrounded by free technology. And if you're anything like me, you love free. I love free. I love free technology when you think about finding. Yeah, there might be versions that you could pay for, but there are tools that you could use for free. The bad news is that there are so many tools, even among the free or the open source ones, that you ask yourself, well, which ones should I focus on? Which tool should I focus on? It might be, let's say it's about marketing and reaching people. You tell yourself, well, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's X, formerly known as Twitter, and a host of others, Snapchat. Which ones do you focus on? And I think my experience has proven to me that focus on one, you kind of reach a place where you start to excel at it. You branch off into two. You reach a place where you're comfortable. And as your skill level grows, whether you're doing video production or posting pictures, you realize that you're able to kind of branch off into more and more assets or tools that you could use. So if you're hearing a bit of rain in the background, it's just started raining. I'm going to continue the recording. We've spoken so far about, which technologies you should focus on, and you really need to think about where your customers, because chances are as an entrepreneur, you're not in a position yet to be able to afford to pay people. And you just have to use the time not only to produce things for yourself, but to reach out to other customers. So forgive me if my thoughts were a little bit sidetracked there. How do you identify opportunities? You think about your skills that you have. And you build, if it is possible, to build digital products around your skill. So maybe you're a cook. And you don't want to, you have a small restaurant that you're thinking about launching. And a good way to reach people is through your skills. Maybe are you going to make a video tutorial probably where you show, without revealing all your secrets, this is how you could get a perfect curry chicken or perfect stew chicken, whatever your choice of meal is as a Caribbean person here, I'm thinking about exactly. You usually are a little bit shy when it comes to putting out video or picture content that you take because you think you need to excel. It needs to be perfect. But if you go back to something that I said in the beginning, the entrepreneur needs to think about themselves as a writer and a content creator. To do these things, you need to accept that this is part of my journey. I don't know why this rain has distracted me so much in the background, but it is. I guess because I'm hearing the hiss as I speak, and it is a little bit distracting to me, and I feel like the listener, you're going to be a little bit distracted by the hiss. But maybe you're able to work past it. I hope you are. Building these digital products, accepting that I am a content creator, I want to reach people, and it's so important when you are posting something, sharing something, that you address the why. Let's say, for instance, you are a restaurant owner and for some reason you have a pot that you absolutely love. Yes, you could post a picture of the pot, but what if you tell people why you love the pot? And suddenly by addressing the why, you realize that people could connect with you a little bit differently. You could share your experience. I am suddenly so nervous about this presentation tomorrow. We still talking here about identifying opportunities to advertise your products and trends. And you think about the free software that you have in the form of being able to go onto Twitter, being able to see what conversations are trending because it's available. I haven't been on Twitter. Well, I should be calling it X right now. You go on X and you see which topics are trending. Like recently, there's a song by a Calypsonian here in a soca artist in Trinidad, where I come from. His name is Iwa George, and he sang a song called Happy People. And it's basically he's sung over the national anthem, inserting some lyrics here and there. If you are an entrepreneur and you have access to tools like X, where you could look at trending conversations, you have access to tools like Google Trends. And you go on Google Trends and you see the conversations that people are having. And if these are the conversations people are having, is there some way that I could insert myself into that conversation? And suddenly now my reach broadens. So sticking with the restaurant example, if you have a plate of food, maybe with you on a smiling face, hey, happy people. And suddenly you're kind of piggybacking in a subtle way on a conversation. You get an engagement, and suddenly somebody might be asking you, well, where's your restaurant? So that's trends. We've spoken about the skills that you have in terms of building digital products. Or you always be on the lookout for it. What can I teach people? Or am I just a food business? Or would some person who has a desire to learn to cook a meal a particular way, can they come to me and I now have an additional service that I could get income? You're following trends, you're listening to the story, the conversations that people are having. By having tools like X and Facebook and YouTube on your page, you go to the trending section. What are people talking about in Trinidad and Tobago? And you insert yourself in the conversation. Community building is a fantastic way to identify the opportunities that you have. It is slow, laborious work where you have to engage one-on-one with people at times through the comment section. Are you just really selling food? Are you just a plumber? I just came from the barber. But looking at myself in the mirror as I was receiving this trim and, I suddenly went from a 2 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10. I realized that this barber is in the business of transforming people. And as you build this idea with a community of the transformation and making people feel better, whatever I don't want to use the word gimmick, but whatever your approach is in terms of connecting with people, and they suddenly feel like, I love connecting with this food business because they're trying to build awareness in terms of healthy eating. Maybe they're using certain type of oils that may be more suitable for someone my age. So you have so much tools right in the comment section, right in terms of having polls and making customers feel that they're involved in these stories. Well, you involving them, not making them feel, but involving them in this community process. Then you have the opportunity to identify. A lot of times you find that the rewards come in terms of financial rewards for you. You have analytics once you sign up for the business version of these, like you have Instagram business, you have WhatsApp business. If you're posting pictures on Facebook business pages in particular, or YouTube, and you have access to the analytics, I have used it in my videos to build a sense when I pull up YouTube analytics on a simple thing like the retention rate. And the retention rate tells me, hey, why are my viewers dropping out at the beginning or the middle of the videos? And to quote an example here, early on in my videos when I was making them, I would usually start with a long musical sequence, some pleasant visuals perhaps. But I realized when I looked at the analytics that people were kind of dropping out of the video because they wanted to connect. You know which videos were performing better? The videos that were connecting immediately with a face and maybe a storyline. I adjusted the approach. And so by looking at the analytics, you have this sense of improving it to serve your community better. There's something I wanted to mention. A lot of times people think that they need the fanciest laptop, camera, microphone to start their journey. I've found, as I mentioned somewhere early on in this podcast episode here, that I have gone back to using my cell phone to do a lot of the recording and the video editing. And it hasn't necessarily changed the essence of what I am doing. So chances are, if you have a decent smartphone at your disposal, and there's a high chance that you do. It doesn't have to be the latest iPhone. It doesn't have to be the latest Samsung. But as long as you have a decent camera and access to the Play Store or the App Store, you could download these free tools that I'm mentioning here to identify and capitalize on different opportunities. Fantastic tools we have along the lines of when it comes to social media and reaching people is this idea of automation. For instance, I have since gone through a number of videos, existing videos that I have already edited. I have changed the sequence so that these videos are now mobile friendly. I have uploaded them and I have scheduled them so that they will appear on YouTube. Here's the thing. I don't need to check that on a daily basis. On Facebook pages, I could schedule post. On YouTube, I could schedule post. And I believe the same thing stands for Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. Instead of spending 30 consecutive days every day looking for content, what you want to do is maybe take every weekend, or it might be one day. You get all the photographs that you need, and then you schedule it so you know while you pursue the money-making aspects of your business, you have in the background content churning out, and at least once a day on some platform, you're meeting people. So perfect opportunity to identify opportunities is through the means of automation. We've spoken about analytics. We've spoken about community building. We've spoken about inserting yourself into stories by looking at trends. We've also spoken about considering the skills that you have and how you could capitalize on it to attract more people. You will always have someone outside who's looking for the opportunity to learn something new. And there are things I find all too often you would meet people and their mindset is, well, if I show people how to do this, my business suddenly goes bust. Nobody would be interested. Not because you show someone something means that they're going to do it for themselves. I have looked at videos on tiled in my house, but I've never tiled a room in the house. So you may want to, I appreciate, however, the people who have shown me things when it comes to maybe tiling a house or fixing a car, a particular part of the engine, but I will still go by a mechanic. And chances are I might go by the mechanic that has taken the time out to show me some aspect of it that I appreciate. So use that as an opportunity to identify your potential customers. What I'll do is I'll just quickly mention some others that I would talk about in a future episode. But you want to give serious consideration to what live streams could do for you. This is for people who might be teachers. You might be a gamer. Or you may have a business where you are a barber. And you just want to reach out to customers and show them what the environment is like, what your skill level is like. So give serious consideration to live streams as a means of identifying opportunities. And apart from your side hustle, looking seriously to what affiliate marketing could do for you. Just off the top of my head, I might call Amazon affiliates. Maybe you're dealing with a business that has a lot of appointments and you think about WhatsApp and then you suddenly realize I have all these different messages and people want to make appointments and it's suddenly hard for me to keep track of it. Then take a look at Google Forms. That's Google. I don't know why I kind of stumbling on that word. Google Forms. Take a look at Google Forms. You could create customer contact forms. This is all free to you. So you have access to really identify and capitalize on these opportunities. And at the forefront, let your mindset be that I am a software company pursuing some passion or some idea that maybe I alone believe in right now, but I am going to pursue it diligently and I am going to use the tools that I have access to not just make my customers' life better, but my life better. So thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time. And if you've listened to this podcast and you've made it to the end, send me a message on Instagram. I'll really be, my name is, my handle is Lyndon Baptiste on Instagram. You could message me there. I would love to know, how many of y'all tuned in, locked in, and yeah, it'll be lovely to connect with you. So take care. Let me go upload this episode.